WDRC members have generally been briefed by bid staff and or the city attorney's office on items on the agenda today. The WDRC is using Zoom to hold its August 26, 2020 virtual meeting. Zoom is a cloud platform for video and audio conferencing, collaboration, chat, and webinars across mobile devices, desktops, telephones, and room systems. In order to ensure that the public has the ability to view the meeting, the WDRC will broadcast the meeting, and the meeting can be viewed live on Miami TV, miamigov.com/TV, through the city's YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/City of Miami Gov, and on Comcast Channel 77 within the City of Miami. Broadcast will also have closed captioning. Additionally, the WDRC has not selected a virtual platform that requires the public to purchase or download any additional software or equipment to watch this meeting. Aside from the Zoom platform and that the participants will be appearing remotely, the public will have no discernible difference in their ability to watch this meeting. The WDRC has developed several new methods for ensuring public comment for a virtual meeting. It has established two new options. First new option allows the public to provide public comment via the dedicated WDRC public comment voicemail by, again, calling 305-250-5352, where the individuals will be able to leave up to a 2-minute message that will be played during the virtual WDRC meeting. The second new option allows the public to submit comments via the WDRC online comment form. The comments submitted through the comment form have been distributed to the board, members, and city staff throughout the day so that the WDRC members can consider the comments prior to taking any action. Additionally, the online comment form will remain open during the meeting to accept comments and distribute such to the WDRC members until the chairman closes public comment. For all the aforementioned options, all the comments received will be included in the public record for this meeting. For these two new options, the WDRC also created a simple set of instructions explaining how the public may submit their comments with either option. Those instructions are provided in the notice to the public and published online at www.miamigov.com/virtualbids. Additionally, like any other WDRC meeting, the public may provide public comment at the bids office. The WDRC has set up a terminal in the event members of the public travel to the bid office to provide public comment. However, due to COVID-19, all speakers desiring to appear in person will be subject to all applicable emergency measures in place to prevent the further spread of COVID-19. Speakers who appear in person will be subject to screenings for symptoms of COVID-19. Any persons exhibiting any symptoms of COVID-19 will not be permitted to enter the bid office, but will be able to participate through the remote options described above. These three public comment options established and provided for this virtual WDRC meeting complied with Section 286.0114 and Section 120.54 of the Florida statutes. The WDRC has published an agenda as well as included in the notice of the public pursuant to our city code and the items and topics that will be discussed at the virtual WDRC meeting. Additionally, the public has been given the opportunity to provide public comment during the meeting at the terminal office, at the bid office, and online through its public comment form, and within reasonable proximity and time before the meeting and during via the public comment voicemail and online public comment form. Moreover, Section 286.0114, subsection 4C of the Florida statutes specifically authorizes the WDRC to, quote, prescribe procedures or forms for an individual to use in order to inform the board or commission of a desire to be heard to indicate his or her support, opposition, or neutrality on a proposition, end of quote. The WDRC, through its three public comment options, have provided 3 different procedures and forms to indicate, among other things, an individual's support, opposition, or neutrality in the items and topics to be discussed at the virtual WDRC meeting. The WDRC provided information that has submitted its comments in the notice to the public on its dedicated webpage and via its social media channels. Mr. Chairman, are you comfortable with the notice provisions set forth and these uniform rules and procedures we've established for this virtual meeting?
Yes, I am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so let's start with a roll call. So Victor Sanchez, present. Mark Coleman?
Present.
Paul Lardy? Okay. Daniel Lombardi?
Here.
Amanda Hertzler?
Here.
Gustavo Vernblum? No. David Charette?
Here.
David, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I just I didn't see you. Okay. Okay. So having said that, let's move on to the minutes from last meeting. I'm sure you guys had a chance to look at them. I'm assuming you did. So I'll make a motion to adopt last meeting's minutes.
I
need a second.
Were they on?
I believe they were sent out. Kevin, can you confirm if they were issued on the package, the link that was sent with the? I'm not. I mean, I know.
I did not include them in the package. No.
You did not include them in the package? Okay.
No.
Because those were prepared by me as I was taking notes in the last meeting. They were sent out, so the members didn't really have a chance to look at them or make any changes or suggestions. So I don't know if there's a chance that those could be sent out sometime during the meeting. So at least we, while we discuss the item, and we'll put this at the end of the meeting. Hopefully, we'll have a chance to
Yeah, I can look for those if you forward them to me, so I can forward them to the rest of the board. I apologize, I didn't include them in the packet.
Okay.
Is the city attorney okay with that direction? So me forwarding the minutes right now, and then the board taking a vote later in this meeting, or should this be pushed?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's not a problem. You can table the item, and those approval of those minutes can be done at the end of the meeting. It's not a problem.
Okay, then I will locate those and forward them over.
Perfect. Okay, so having said that, before we move forward, just send the procedures, make sure everybody mutes themselves while the applicant is presenting, and then let's just wait for the presentation to be over, and then we'll start commenting, just so it goes a little bit more smooth. So having said that, let's go ahead to the item number 1.
Before we move to item number 1, can we close public comment at this point?
Yes. Are there any public comments? Otherwise, we can close.
Okay, I'll let the team know to close the comments. At this moment, we haven't received any public comment through the different methods. Okay. So moving on to the first item, this is our carryover item from last meeting. This is for Wynwood Spring Place. It's located at 2143 Northwest First Avenue in a T50 transit zone. And this is an office and commercial adaptive reuse project. We have a couple people from the applicant's team that are joining us. I'm going to promote Nicholas Barshal to a panelist so he can get us started. If anybody else from the applicant team is present, please raise your hand so I can promote you to a panelist for your presentation. Okay, we have Patrick and Veronica joining us as well. It looks to be it for the applicant team. So at this moment, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Nick Barshal, attorney at Ackerman, representing the applicant, address 98 Southeast 7th Street in Miami. First of all, thanks everyone for making time to join, for this makeup meeting since our project wasn't able to be heard in July. We appreciate it. The principal for the applicant is Valerio Morabito with Morabito Properties, and he recently purchased this property with the intent of doing an adaptive use project that would really retain the existing building and revitalize it. Like many buildings in Wynwood, this is a 2-story concrete structure built in the 1940s with very little interaction with the street, originally used as a warehouse, later as some commercial and office uses. Wynwood Spring Place will really open up this project to the street with new glazing, landscaping, awnings, roof terraces, and really create that interaction that the NRD 1 goals go for. And this project will bring both office and commercial uses to a sector of Wynwood. It really has not seen a lot of the reinvestment that others have. The office tenant that is in place is known as Spring Place, which has a nationwide brand of high-end membership-only co-working spaces that cater to creative professionals. There are other locations around the country, and Spring Place intends to bring this same model here to Wynwood. We will remain available to answer any questions for the applicant. I am not sure if Valerio himself is here, but I can answer questions as well. But now we'd like to just turn it over to Patrick, our architect from Architectonica, who can go walk you through the design.
Okay.
Thanks, Nick. Good morning, everybody. So I'm Patrick Giannini from the architecture firm Architectonica here in Miami. I'm one of the lead designers in the firm here in the Miami office. And I'm happy to have this opportunity to briefly present to you this project we've been developing, working on. I'm going to share my screen. Trying to share my screen. Okay. Is my screen shared?
No, it's not.
No. Okay. Not sure why. Apologize.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry about
There
that.
you go.
Great. Okay. So first, I just want to give you a little bit of context, get everybody located here. Shown in red is the location of the project, the site. We're on the corner of Northwest 1st and Northwest 22nd Street. So here's First here, 22nd here.
The screen is at least on mine shows frozen. It still shows on the cover page. So I don't know if it's my screen or.
No, not just you. Screen too.
Not just you.
Okay, there you go. There you go. Now
Okay.
you're good. Yes.
Okay. So here are some aerial views just to give you some context of where we're located. This street here is Northwest 1st, and here's Northwest 22nd Street. The corner holds the building holds the corner. A couple different views there. Here are some existing photographs of the building. You can see that it's on the corner, and there is some artwork currently on the building, but mostly it's a sort of enclosed facade, not a lot of fenestration, not a very transparent looking building. Couple different shots here looking down 22nd and looking down First Ave. You can see where we are there. Probably you're familiar with this location. Okay, so as Nick mentioned, we are proposing an adaptive reuse for this building. This project, the main tenant that we're looking at here is called Spring Place, although here in Miami, they may adapt their name a little bit to be called Summer Place. They do have other locations in the country, New York and in Beverly Hills. It's a kind of co-working setup that's focused on, that kind of caters to the fashion industry mostly. But here in Miami, it would be focused on entertainment, music and video content production, and small events in that same area. So just a quick overview. Here you can see that we are not, as an adaptive reuse, we are not suggesting that we're going to change the footprint of the building. We are merely essentially renovating this building and reorganizing the interior. So the envelope does not really change, although we are enhancing the envelope, and I will review that a little bit further along in the presentation. But generally in the interior, we have co-working space, we have private suites, we have video and music production studios, and in the middle here, we have a kind of gathering space for the people that develop this content here in this location. Here's the second floor. The building does have 2 floors in certain areas already. We're also inserting a kind of mezzanine shown in the purple, and I'll show you that better in the floor plans. Overall site plan. We are, of course, implementing the Wynwood Street Master Plan. We are working with ArcGeo, the landscape architect, who also is responsible for developing that master plan. So we have closely followed those master plan rules and regulations. Of course, there's not a whole lot of site to develop, but what there is, such as the sidewalks, the curbs, this small parking area we have here, we are implementing all of those standards that exist within the street plan, master plan. So we are proposing some enhancements to the sidewalk. We have the proper trees situated in a proper manner, distance. These are resilient trees that also will provide a little bit of shade on the sidewalk. We have pervious concrete. We have dealt with the curb and the corner with the detectable surface as required. And then we are trying to introduce more greenery and more vegetation where we can. We do have also 2 levels of terraces that we are also developing with some pretty interesting landscaping. So here's a kind of intermediate terrace with some raised planters and some paving. And then we do have a kind of rooftop terrace that's nothing more than a kind of hangout spot for the people that would be working in this building. Quick loop through the floor plan. You can see in the middle here a kind of event space that's mostly open. And on flanking that on both sides, we have a kind of F&B area for the people that would work here. And on the right here, you can see some of the studios and the private suites, recording studios, film and editing, photo studios, and etc. On the second floor, again, the event space is double height. Flanking it on both sides are more private studios and more offices. And here in the rear is a larger co-working space and one of the rooftop terraces here. And then finally on the roof is this kind of hangout spot that I'll show you a rendering a little bit further on. Should be a kind of cool place to hang out and see the skyline of Miami. Okay, so in terms of materials and how we're treating the facade, we have some pretty exciting things going on. First of all, we are introducing new windows and doors. We've, in a kind of, a pattern that's pleasing, nothing crazy. And these windows, we're going for a kind of, let's call it an industrial loft aesthetic. Maybe similar to, if you're familiar with the windows that are at Dr. Smood, which is just a block away. So you can see the kind of aesthetic of the look and feel that we're going for in these new windows. We are looking at creating a matte black building, and I'll explain to you how that goes hand in hand with the artwork that we are proposing. But you can see that the overall aesthetic of the facade and the materials are along the same lines of darker black metal panel and black stucco. Inside, we're proposing black railings, black metal stairways, etc. So here you can see the facades and the kind of cadence or the rhythm of the new windows along 1st and 22nd. This is actually the 1st Avenue facade here. Okay. Okay, the artwork. This is something we particularly think is going to be really exciting about this. These are all the surfaces that we have available for introducing this artwork. So it's fairly prominent, being on the corner. And we're proposing to work with an artist called Vils, originally from Portugal. And the type of work that he does is called bas relief. So bas relief it's more than just a mural or a painting effect. This is actually images that are chiseled into the stucco or whatever surface there is. In our case, it would be the matte black stucco. And this creates a kind of relief or a kind of texture around the entire envelope. So it's almost kind of an experiential mural. Here are some examples of his work in places around the world. Here's an example in Paris. Again, in Paris. And you can see here how he takes an existing surface, enhances it, and then chisels away at it to kind of reveal these images that he creates. And what we're proposing for this project are images that celebrate local artists, celebrate the local skyline, and really celebrate the local artist scene here in Miami and specifically in Wynwood. Couple more examples, this one being in China, in Shanghai. How does that all play out visually? Here you can see a couple renderings of what we are proposing. I didn't mention in the facades as well is that we're also proposing to add some awnings on the facade. This we think, will not only provide a little bit of protection to the building from the sun, but it also provides a couple moments of respite from rain and a little bit more shade on the sidewalk. So here you see the kind of matte black finish and the artwork, how it would appear on the facades. Here you can also see that there are some areas where we do have a little bit of vines growing on the walls, and you can see the terraces here that are planted moving up the side of the building. Up here is the kind of metal panel box that sits on top. Another shot of the corner of 1st and 22nd. Here's a kind of dusk view of the facade on 1st. Again, the artwork shown here is not exactly what would be the final result, but that is something that we're working on now. But this is very representative of the technique. And then finally, a view of the rooftop terrace, that kind of spot on the top where the people that would be using this building could also use as an outdoor space or a gathering space. And that's pretty much it. if there's, I don't know if there's anything else that Nick wants to add or if Valerio is online, but otherwise I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, well, thank you for the presentation. And I like to commend you guys for doing it's a great example of adaptive reuse. I mean, I'm very familiar with the artist. You did a piece for Goldman Properties in Wynwood Walls, which is quite amazing, and it introduces a new layer of texture, in my opinion, that makes this. It's not just traditional paint. This has a little bit more of a sculptural aspect to it. It's great that you guys have selected. This is a rising star. It's not a star artist already. I'm pleased that you guys are doing incorporating the master streetscape plan here. I think that area along in Wynwood is very blighted. It's a little bit desolated, and I think this is definitely could serve as an igniter to hopefully push other owners in the area to further develop that corridor and that section of the neighborhood. Again, it's a nice project. I like the way you guys address the corner of doing this kind of like a concave approach, as instead of just putting the door in the chamfer corner flush. I think it creates a nice entry feature there. So overall, listen, I don't have anything negative to say. The only thing would be that the art that Bill does is typically appreciated from a distance. You cannot perceive that when you get up and close. So I think that as you further work on the design and collaboration with the artists, you need to be mindful of the size of the windows and placement of the windows as it relates to the artwork, and perhaps fine tune it a little bit so that there's moments, when people approach it, they're able to appreciate this from the distance. This is not a conventional artist. This is a guy that's done solo exhibitions all over the world, and I think that there should be a little bit more of a coordination between the proposed artwork and the actual surfaces that will be allowed, so that the art is truly appreciated. Having said that, again, I don't have anything negative about the project, and I'll just go down the list of the board members for further comments. So let's start with Mark.
I agree pretty much with everything you said there, Victor. I mean, I think it's a great project. I think it's well presented here. Just a couple of things on the presentation I would have liked to seen, at least we've seen from your office, where we get elevations of existing elevations and showing what the demo is and what's coming out, stuff like that. So that would have been helpful. And I just have one little comment, and that is on the corner. If you go to, I think it's a rendering sheet 901, I think, or that one there also. You can see it's 45 here, but in the plans it's actually sort of 90 degrees. So I just wanted to kind of understand that a little bit more, which one will it actually be?
Yeah, I see.
Right.
The second floor is the chamfered, which is existing, and the ground floor. Not a big deal. I was just curious about that, because my main concern on this elevation here is you've done a wonderful job on the main elevations of keeping a substantial amount of facade there, which has been one of our complaints all along as a lot of these projects come in. They put all windows and there's so little left for artwork or whatever like that. Was just on the corner itself, if you go to that 901, you've left very little of the wall there. I would have liked to see a little bit more wall there. It just, because it doesn't really, it's not in keeping with the rest of the walls. So it's kind of really dematerialized the corners, on the side panels there.
Sure.
So I did have a question about the restaurant use there. That's going to be just a separate restaurant operation, presumably. And I didn't see any trash facilities or anything like that. So that's an important thing that we've often spoken about on the board, particularly with restaurants, but also even with offices and things like that. We're trying to avoid people just having a ton of trash cans out there and during the week, especially with the restaurant. That's not really acceptable. So we like to see some sort of trash facility indoor and rather than the outdoor trash facilities. I think that's pretty much it. I mean, again, your AC probably going on the roof, so want to make sure that that's screened. I think that's pretty much all of my comments. I think it's going to be a wonderful project. And I agree with what Victor said and what you guys said that that area really kind of needs the help there. This is a wonderful artist and it's great. Shame to see the other renderings go, but hey, that's the way things go then. So those are my comments.
Great. Okay, Daniel.
One of my comments was the trash thing, which Mark covered, and then I didn't see a lighting plan for the exterior, which is just something to think through that we bring up a lot. But otherwise, love the project. Area needs it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that definitely an exterior wall washing lighting of these facades are crucial to really highlight the artwork at night and also to illuminate the street better. Amanda?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
I know also I need to be, can you see me? Because I had my camera off, so I know that I need to be present when you.
Okay, we can hear you.
Yep.
We don't see you, but we can hear you.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully.
I can see you. Your camera.
Okay.
I can
All
see
right,
it.
fantastic. Because I know I have to be
Yes,
visible.
you're there. There you go.
So, okay. Hi. I would just basically I would just reiterate. I do think that there may be a security issue, kind of with this. I'm not saying change the building, but I think that we need to recognize there may be a security issue with this. So I would actually say, especially with kind of the inset of the entry, that exterior lighting would be important in this area. As well, I think we've covered trash. I would just also like to just comment on the fact that, I'm a big proponent of adaptive reuse. So I'm glad to see, that we're utilizing existing structures and beautifying them and taking the time to respect what's here in Wynwood and the scale of Wynwood. So I have no other comments other than I agree with the exterior lighting for a security purpose. I think it's necessary.
Okay, great. David?
I really like the project a lot. The block and stack, the adjacency, the partie, all of them are excellent as usual. I love the artist. I see it usually when I go for lunch. And the good thing about it too is the intense sun in Miami can bleed out a lot of the artwork. This artist stuff, actually, it's kind of like art in Spain with shadow. You're going to get texture and shadow, and it's an excellent way of doing art in a difficult environment. And I also think it's going to, even if you tag it, it still looks cool. It develops a wonderful patina, and I think it's really appropriate for Wynwood. And I like that you added the landscaping, and I think having a COVID space like the terrace is now programmatically going to be critical going forward with projects and for Wynwood. I don't think this is going to be the first pandemic we're going to experience in our lifetimes. And I think that the way you've set it up so that people can be lifted up to view the downtown skyline, I think that's excellent. It's really creates a draw and a very positive addition to Wynwood.
Great. I agree with you. I think this art ages well, and it looks better as time passes by, as it gets weathered, and it just looks, it's one of the few artists that you don't have to touch it up as much. So,
Victor,
okay.
I had one question. It was just more something that David brought up. Actually, was if you don't mind, on the operational issue is how that deck is going to be used. Up there, you got the middle deck and you got the upper deck, and I see the restaurant. And I don't know if that's going to be tied into the restaurant use at all, or is it strictly for the tenant? Because if you're going to have outside events there and stuff like that, where your elevator works, kind of, you'd have to open up the office and stuff like that. So I don't know if there's been a lot of discussion about how that roof deck is, those two roof decks are going to be operated.
Yeah, those roof decks, particularly the larger upper one, is really just an additional space that happens to be exterior for the people using this building to gather. There isn't really any other additional, there's no food or beverage or anything up there.
Okay, so it's not tied into the restaurant, or you're not going to have third-party events up there or anything like that. It's just strictly for the office users?
Right.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Kevin, are there any public comments so far?
No, we did not receive any public comments.
Okay. So having said that, I'll make a motion to approve with two conditions that we've I guess agreed on, which is that the trash must be contained within the property in a proper trash room, and that the project should have exterior lighting for both security and wall washing purposes of the yard. Besides that, I think that's an excellent project. And go ahead.
I just want to add screen and rooftop equipment. That's sort of a standard one that we normally.
Okay, that's in there.
Sorry to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt. Patrick, can you stop sharing your screen, please, so that we can get board members on the screen as they, list their conditions and take their vote. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll add that condition that all mechanical equipment should be screened as required by the code. So having said that, I'll make a motion to approve with such conditions.
I'll second it.
I need a second. Second by Mark Coleman. Okay. Daniel?
In favor.
Okay. Amanda?
In favor.
Okay. David?
In favor.
Mark?
Yes, in favor.
And myself in favor. So thank you. Great project. And we have to go back to the minutes. Kevin, we had any chance to?
I did a search. I don't think I ever got them. I tried emailing you back.
Victor, can you screen share?
Just table them for next time. I mean, is there any reason we have to now?
Vote next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do that then. We'll defer that item for the next meeting.
Yeah, if you locate them, just send them over so I can forward them for the next meeting.
Okay, I email them. Okay, I'll email. I know I emailed them, but I'll email them again, and then we'll
please,
just to you. You'll distribute to the. Okay, that's fine.
Thank you. Another point that before you close the meeting that I wanted to bring up to the board is, the possibility of our next meeting. I don't know how familiar most of you are with this process, but it really, hinges on the executive order from the governor being extended at some time. I know right now it's extended through the end of, I believe, September. So okay. Here's the thing. Typically we have the meeting on the second Tuesday of the month, right? In order for us to do that in September, materials would have to go out this week. Currently, we don't have anybody that has applied that hasn't been heard, as of today. I know there's a couple of different projects that are hoping to submit in, the near future. None of them are quite there yet. So the question is, do we want to, and this is just a departure point. It's not going to be a final decision because there's multiple steps to this process. But would the board prefer that, we start the setup or the lift of getting a meeting again at the end of September, about a month away from now? Or would we want to go back to our regular schedule which would be the second week. But that would mean we wouldn't have a meeting till the second week of October. Because, having the second week of September is no longer a possibility because of the time frame.
Are there projects that are in the works and that realistically can make the September agenda?
At this point, it's hard to tell. I've had communications with 2 groups mainly that are hoping to submit in the future, but I don't know, how soon they'll be ready to submit. Obviously, if it's going to be the meeting at the end of September, our submittal deadline is going to have to be 2 weeks before that, which would mean that I would, let them know probably today that they have about a week or 2 to submit all of their documents based on which date, gets approved by the city manager. Another issue is, this meeting has to get approved by the city manager before it can even be noticed or published. And we don't quite have an agenda at this point. So
what are you recommending? Kevin, what are you recommending that we?
I think it's probably best to go back to our regularly scheduled meetings. It would just put us 2 weeks later. Those were our typical meetings, our typical schedule. So it's good to keep with those. And just because we don't have any item that's ready to go, I don't think it's necessary to start the process without an agenda.
Right, I agree. We keep it with the original date, and if there's no items for the September, then we don't have a meeting, and then we'll have the October one as usual.
Okay.
Normal.
So then I'll start the process to get our October meeting at the regularly scheduled date, so then we can backtrack for deadlines, and
because I think it's better. Right, it's better for us, as members, to have that time frame already blocked every month, so we can plan ahead. As instead of going with it back and forth, do we have this time available, not time available? It's easier for us to plan ahead and book that time. I'm going
to push for that date that is our regular meeting, but it may be a day or 2 short or late, depending on the availability of city resources. But it would put us back to that general time frame.
Okay, fine. Okay, anything else?
That day is the day after Columbus Day, so the 13th, I guess. So I don't know if that affects anybody. If anybody was planning to be.
Where are you going?
Oh well, I'm not. But those you guys that have sailboats,
Exactly. Okay. So if there's anything, unless there's anything else to discuss, I'll adjourn the meeting.
All right. Great, guys. Great seeing you all.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you all, guys. Appreciate it.
Have a good week.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye.